Hello friends, I'm Dr. Satyapal, Associate Professor of English, Government National College, Sirsa. Today we shall study Shakespeare's poem, Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds. We have already read the poem and discussed the thematic aspect of this poem, which is actually sonnet number 116 by William Shakespeare. This is part 2 of that lecture, and here we shall discuss the stylistic part of the poem. So, in the first part, Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds, we discussed the theme, means the meaning of the poem, and structure of the poem. In this poem, in the 3 quatrains and a couplet, total 14 lines, Shakespeare talks about true love, what true love is like, what it is not, and the structure of the poem, wherein he defines true love in the first 4 lines and he supports with more ideas in the second and third quatrain, and finally throws a challenge. So the steadfastness or firmness of true love as a guide, and everlastingness of true love, these 3 ideas have been asserted thematically in this poem. And in the final couplet, there is a challenge. We have already discussed in part 1 of the lecture on this point. So next is the stylistic part. Style. What is the form of the poem? As I have already told you that the poem is a sonnet and it has 14 lines in it. What figures of speech have been used in this poem? What meter has been used? How the poem has been made musical? And what is the rhyme of the poem? These aspects we shall discuss in this lecture on the stylistic part of the poem. So the poem is a sonnet, but there are 2 types of sonnets. One is Petrarchan, the other is Shakespearean. So what is a Petrarchan sonnet and what is a Shakespearean sonnet? How one is different from the other? Petrarchan sonnet and Shakespearean sonnet both have 14 lines each, but the stanza division, the stanza structure is different. In a Petrarchan sonnet, the 14 lines are divided in 2 parts. The first part has 8 lines. It is called octet or octave. Octet is also right. Octave is also right. Octave. Octa means 8 lines. And after this, the second stanza is of 6 lines, and between them there is a volta. What is a volta? Volta is change of idea. In the first 8 lines, the poet presents a problem and he solves that problem in the final 6 lines. If you have read Milton's sonnet on his blindness, then in the first 8 lines, Milton talks about the problem of his eyesight and the disturbance in his mind, the kind of uneasiness that prevails in his mind, and in the final 6 lines, he solves that problem. So in between, where the idea changes, it is called volta. So first 8 lines, octave or octet, and the final 6 lines, 8 plus 6, 14. There are total 14 lines. This is a Petrarchan sonnet, the structure of a Petrarchan sonnet. On the other hand, Shakespearean sonnet is different in structure. Petrarchan sonnet is also called Italian sonnet because it came from Italy. It is named after a poet, famous poet Petrarch. Shakespearean sonnet has been named after the great poet William Shakespeare, and this sonnet has a different stanza structure. The first stanza is of 4 lines, which is called a quatrain. Quatrain means a stanza of 4 lines. Second stanza is also 4 lines. Third is also 4 lines, means 3 quatrains. 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12, plus a couplet, and this is how there are 14 lines in total. But if you look at the poem text written in a standard book, you will find that there is no gap between the first quatrain and the second, or the second and the third, or the third and the couplet. There is no gap because the poem has been written continuously from line number 1 to line number 14. So this is the basic difference. Stanza structure is different. Their stanzas can be divided in 2 parts in Petrarchan sonnet and in 4 parts in Shakespearean sonnet. Apart from this, The rhyme scheme is also different. About rhyme scheme we shall discuss later in the later part of this lecture. So let's move forward and discuss the other stylistic aspects of this poem. First thing is conversational tone. While reading the text of the poem, I pointed out that the poet, as if the poet is talking to someone. Whenever the poet is talking to someone, or we feel as if the two persons or someone is talking to an audience, then tone is usually conversational. Let me not do, अरे मुझे ऐसे करना दो, अरे मैं ये मानने को तैयार नहीं हूँ, या इस तरह की बात. Whenever the poet says let me not to the marriage of two minds, this is conversational tone. This is the first example, first quatrain. And beginning of second quatrain again, oh no, it is an ever fixed. अरे नहीं नहीं, तुम कह रहे हो वो बात ठीक नहीं है, मैं बताऊं तुम्हें. Oh no, oh no, it is an ever fixed mark. Again, the tone is conversational. And then, if this be error and upon me proved, a conditional sentence. He again asserts in a conversational tone that whatever I have said is right. So apart from this, there are metaphors and personifications and various other figures of speech used in the poem. No exhaustive list. So metaphors, if we talk about, then the first metaphor occurs, first and second two metaphors occur in second quatrain. Oh no, it is a never fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. Here, love has been compared to the lighthouse. It is an extended metaphor because not only one quality has been compared, but many qualities. One thing is that it is fixed. Lighthouse is fixed, permanent is, true love is permanent and fixed. Lighthouse faces tempests, true love faces problems. Lighthouse remains at its place and is never shaken. True love remains at its place and it does not change. These three qualities. That is why you can call it an extended metaphor. There is no one point of comparison. Rather, there are several points of comparison. And again, in the next two lines, it is the star. Love has been compared to the pole star. And here again, there are several qualities which have been compared with the true love. True love is compared with pole star. It is permanent like pole star. It is invaluable like pole star. So if we go further and find out one more metaphor, then in the third quatrain, there is again a metaphor. I have already discussed it, but let's discuss it again. Time has been called a farmer. Lips and cheeks, they have been called plants, physical beauty, and the farmer cuts down physical beauty, but the plants of true love remain out of the range of the sickle of the farmer. So there is again a metaphor. There is a personification also. Time T capital. Usually capital letters represent personification. And here Shakespeare personifies time. That's why if you see in the next line, then within his bending sickles compass come. His, the pronoun his is used for human beings. It is not it's his. That's why it is a personification. And use of enjambment. Perhaps you are hearing this word for the first time. Enjambment is when the idea the poet gives in one line, that is not completed in one line, but moves to the next line or to the at the end of till the end of the second line or the third line even. That is called enjambment. If you look at Shakespeare's poem, then most of the lines do not complete the idea in one line. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. One idea gets completed here. The two words admit impediments. They belong to second line. So this is enjambment. Love is not love. Half of line number 2, which alters if you read the sentence grammatically, where the meaning gets completed, then you see that love is not love which alters when it alteration finds or bends with the remover to remove. The idea overflows. Now, why Shakespeare uses this enjambment? Have you ever thought about it? I believe Shakespeare believes that true love is eternal, continuous, and permanent. It is never ending. It is everlasting. It is ever continuous. The continuity of idea from one line to the second and second to the third represents in style what he says in theme. So, oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. Again, the idea overflows from one line to the next line. It is also use of enjambment. And it is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. These are four enjambments. And if you learn this enjambment, always try to find out a figure of speech and what is the function of that figure of speech. It's very important to know. Not only knowing that what figures of speech has been used, but to know why it has been used is very important. If I talk about meter, this may seem quite strange to some of you, but the meter used is iambic pentameter. Iambic is name of a meter. Pentameter, penta means 5. Iambic pentameter. How this meter has been used in this poem? Let's see. If you read the words one by one, let me not to the marriage of two minds, then see, let me. There is one syllable. हिंदी में कहें एक मात्रा है let में. Let me. एक मात्रा let में है, एक ही मात्रा me में है. Let me. There is one syllable in let, one syllable me. First syllable is unstressed, second one is stressed. पहली पे जोर नहीं पड़ता है, दूसरी पे जोर पड़ता है. Let me, not to, not unstressed, too stressed. The marriage. Marriage को हम दो parts में divide करेंगे. We will divide this marriage word in two parts because it is disyllabic word. दो मात्राएं हैं इसमें. One syllable will belong to one foot and the remaining one syllable will go to the next foot. The marriage of rich, unstressed, of stressed. True minds. True, unstressed mind, minds stressed. So, let me not to the marriage of true minds. If you count the syllables, then there are 10 syllables. The first syllable in each foot is unstressed, followed by a stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. There are 5 feet. Let me not to the marriage of true minds. 5 feet. Let me 1 foot है. Not to is the second. The marriage 3. Number 4. Rich of true minds 5 foot. So these are 5 feet. And each foot has one unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So this unstressed stressed is called iambic. And 5 feet penta, iambic pentameter. Now if you count these syllables in all the 14 lines of the poem, you will find that there are 10 syllables in each line. All 14 lines. And all 14 lines have the first unstressed and the next stressed syllable. This may seem very strange to you, but this is true. Similarly, admit impediments. Love is not love. If you try to analyze the poem from this angle, then you will find that all the 14 lines are iambic pentameter lines, 10 syllables in each line and 5 feet in each line. Each foot contains one unstressed syllable followed by a stressed one. This is how the poem is. The poem uses iambic pentameter. Rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme you must have learnt at school also. Is not something new for you. So let me note the marriage of true minds. If you read the last word of each line, minds, love, finds, remove, then if you name minds as A, then love as B, finds, minds, finds. They have similar sound. So A, B, A. Remove. Love and remove have similar sounds. So A, B, A, B. Next quatrain. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark. See the last word of each line. Mark, shaken, bark, taken. So if you name mark sound arc as C, then mark and bark both are CC, shaken, taken, DD. So rhyme scheme of first 8 lines becomes AB, AB, CD, CD. And the next quatrain, third quatrain, cheeks, come, weeks, doom. I have written pronunciation of these words in the slanting lines. Some of you may not understand it, but those who understand, it is for them. So cheeks, weeks, come, doom. So EF, EF, and the final couplet, proved, loved, GG. This is the rhyme scheme of a Shakespearean sonnet. In all of Shakespeare's sonnets, this rhyme scheme has been used: A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. On the other hand, Petrarchan sonnet does not use this rhyme scheme because there is no final couplet there. There are 8 lines and then there are 6 lines. So again, this is how Petrarchan sonnet becomes different from a Shakespearean sonnet. So moving next to the music of the poem. Repeated sounds, repetition of sounds. If you have seen carefully in songs, then you must have noticed refrain in songs. The same line being repeated several times in a single song. Just like that, there are some sounds, some lines which are repeated in a poem in order to make it musical. So what Shakespeare has done? Shakespeare has used some sounds which he repeats. Ma sound is very musical, ma. This sound has been repeated 16 times in the sonnet, Let Me Not to the Marriage of Two Minds. Na sound has been repeated 34 times, la sound 14 times, sa sound 12 times, ra sound 30 times, z sound 18 times, o sound has been repeated 43 times. Sir and Z are very these two sounds are whistling sounds, and love, you know, is something which is represented in whistling. Perhaps you remember that song Ilu Ilu, and there was a whistling sound in that song. So true love has been represented with these whistling sounds Sir and Z. So friends, thank you very much for watching this video. Subscribe my channel for more videos.